Hey guys, welcome for Game Back today, bringing out a video, and today we're discussing one of the modes of the limited time modes that we really haven't seen too much of, and that I think is one of the best, if not the best, game mode for Warzone and Modern Warfare, and that being Realism Royale. So, first off, if we back off up to Modern Warfare's multiplayer, the launch of this game and the build-up to Modern Warfare was really heavily based around a more grounded, realistic type boots-on-the-ground experience, and I believe at the time, when we were building up to Modern Warfare's launch, the realism mode was featured pretty heavily with the NVGs. It was showcases some of the first gameplay we saw, utilizing the NVGs or night vision goggles. The realism game mode itself was pretty heavily advertised, and I know a lot of YouTubers and players themselves that come from Battlefield or more tactical type shooters were making the move and the interest over to Modern Warfare because of that, one of those being myself. So, fast forward now into Warzone, which was released about a year ago here in March. Now, Realism Royale, we've only seen it a total of 6 total days since the game released in a whole year. So, in my mind, that's just far too few. It's borderline unacceptable to only have a limited time game mode released for a total of 6 days in a year's time frame. If we look back, I believe it was in June of 2020, we had Realism Royale for one weekend, so it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then gone Monday, and then again in December, early December here of 2020, it was again Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and gone Monday was Realism Royale. So that's a playlist we've seen the least out of any playlist. We see things like buyback solos, duos, quads, Armored Royale, and some other limited time game modes that, although those are also featured very, we don't see them featured quite a bit in the game mode. Very few times that these come up in the weekends, but I think the limited time modes that do come in the game, it seems that the player base, especially looking on Twitter, don't really like the game modes that are introduced for the weekends. It seems like the majority of the community really enjoys the buyback limited time modes, and I know right now we see Armored Royale was just released this past weekend, which again, it's fun, but it's not something I'm going to play and have a good time doing consistently. It's good for maybe one match, and that's about it. But if we look at something like buyback modes, those are a lot of fun where you don't go to the gulag. If you have the amount of money, you come back, you can get some high kill games. It allows for being more competitive, and you really don't pay if you get killed by a camper. There's always a way back, which is why I really enjoy that game mode. Now, the other one here, obviously, Realism Royale. So you'll see some of the gameplay in the background is going to be Realism Royale, as well as maybe mixed with some regular gameplay from regular Warzone core mode as well. But Realism Royale, as I said, 6 total days since the launch of Warzone, which is just far too few of days that we've seen this game mode, and arguably, I think, one of the best game modes. So first off, why is Realism Royale the best Warzone game mode, in my opinion? So a lot of you may feel differently, but in my mind, if we look at Warzone and what Warzone really has been, I would say after maybe the first 2 or 3 months of being out, it's been a kind of a mess of just a lot of meta weapons that are very unbalanced. The movement system in regular Warzone is a little crazy. The meta for vehicles has just gotten a little bit out of control for sure. I think vehicle meta has always been a problem in a lot of Battle Royale games. And then obviously contracts, being able to just get a hit, and also being able to pop a bunch of UAVs and go after and chase people in vehicles, things like that. All things that really can be fixed by having Realism Royale as a game mode. So what are the benefits of Realism Royale? First off, very limited HUD. You have no HUD on your screen except for you and your teammates on the bottom left-hand corner. So on your bottom left-hand corner, you'll see your name as well as your squad mate's name, and a very small indicator to, I think, how much, not even how many plates they have. I don't even think, or no, you can see how many plates they have, but you can't see anything else in reserve. So you need to be able to communicate with your squad mate. Now, the only way to see how much ammo you have in reserve and things like that is going to be, like, for someone like myself on console, to just push down on the D-pad and be able to see, okay, how much AR ammo do I have, how much rockets do I have, sniper ammo, things like that is the only way you'll be able to tell, so you can see if you actually need more ammo or not. There's no mini-map, and obviously you can pull up your TAC map. Now, the mini-map is present when you do have a UAV, as it is in Modern Warfare's multiplayer realism, which is good. So you can get the minimap when you have the UAV. However, on the minimap, when it does pop up, as well as on the TAC map, which you can bring up showing the whole map, it does not show vehicles, and it does not show any contracts. So you cannot pre-drop somewhere where we can see there's a contract. Like if I'm dropping in, I want to go to a scavenger right off the bat. You can't do that. You need to go to a spot where you think there may be one and drop there. There's no way to tell where the contracts are. There's no way to tell where the vehicles are. So a vehicle could be driving up on the road right next to you, or maybe a little bit further away where you may not necessarily hear it clearly. And typically you would check your mini-map to verify there's a vehicle there. You can't do that in Realism Royale. So it really narrows your focus to your immediate surroundings. You need to be focused on what's going on in your immediate vicinity. So you can't be checking the map to see if a vehicle is or isn't present maybe halfway across the map in a place you're going to see if someone's going to be taking that vehicle or not. Going to a buy station, is there a vehicle there? Is there a vehicle up in the hills, on the buildings, where there may be people there? Things like that give off cues where teams are. You can't take advantage of. Other things that are really good about Realism Royale is there's no hit markers. There's no indication that you're hitting your opponent. There's no indication that you've broken armor or that you've downed them. It's all visual. So you need to hit your shots, and you need to, I believe there might be an audio cue if you still break someone's armor. But there's no hit markers. You need to be able to visually see your hits and down people. And there's a couple instances in Realism Royale where we were engaging people like pretty good distance, and I'm not able to see if I'm hitting them. I don't know how much damage they're done. I don't know if they're broken, but just keep firing long range. And I was actually able to get a kill at very long range just by spraying. I knew the person was probably broken at that point. Spraying out of visual. I didn't have visual on him anymore. I knew he was behind some trees way off in the distance, and I was able to get the kill on that. But again, there's a lot of instances that just, again, it makes you focus on your immediate surroundings and have what I like to say is presence of mind as to what's going on. You really need to use your brain when playing this, and it turns Modern Warfare and Warzone into from a arcade fun shooter into more of a tactical shooter, which is really what I'm looking to play here in Modern Warfare, in Warzone specifically. I think Warzone, I really want it to be a tactical shooter. I really wanted Modern Warfare's multiplayer to be a tactical shooter, which is really kind of what it was marketed as to me. And Realism Royale filled that niche for sure. It turned it into a tactical shooter where you needed to rely on audio cues and your immediate surroundings and really have presence of mind as to what's happening around you. Very similar to like something like a PC like Tarkov. You need to know what's going on. There's no HUD. There's no visual cues for breaking armor, things like that. You need to have a presence of mind to know what's happening around you. It's a much more realistic game as Escape from Tarkov. And in my mind, realism in Modern Warfare as well as Warzone kind of takes Call of Duty's, I guess, approach to an EFT type game. It really grounds you more so in reality, and it's much more immersive, which is what I'm looking for as a player. So obviously, I do play a lot of Tarkov on PC. I love that game a lot. And I really want Call of Duty and Warzone to kind of fill that niche that I'm trying to play. The AAA title has amazing graphics. The weapon customization is awesome. I really would wish Realism Royale was around more consistently. There's no way to tell how many people are in the final circles, which is one thing. There's no directional audio or visual cues as to which direction you're being shot from. So there's some instances in the gameplay where we're getting sniped at, and I think someone had a Rytec at one point here, and he was shooting thermite rounds at us, 25mm thermite rounds. And we're getting hit with this, having no idea where it's coming from. It's suppressed, so we can't hear the direction it's coming from. There's no visual cues on screen. Typically in regular Warzone, you're going to get a visual cue showing the direction it's coming from. You don't get any of that in Realism. You really need to look around, have, as I said many times right now, presence of mind, what's going on in my surroundings to be able to identify where targets are and engage them. It takes a much more skilled player, and I believe the Realism community is a smaller niche in the Call of Duty community. However, I think it's a pretty large niche, and I would really like to see Realism Warzone return for at least more than 1 weekend. I think a lot of these limited time modes, I think the most popular, as I said, is buybacks, but why do we see these only introduced on weekends and gone? Everybody loves these game modes and wants to play them. We should have a constant rotation of a few different LTMs or limited time modes. That being, I think, the two most popular seem to be buyback, and I'm going to go out and say it, Realism seems to be a popular game mode. Every time this is released, I know larger YouTubers cover it. Someone like, I believe, Iceman Isaac did some videos last time it was out, and it just really allows you to have fun. Since there's no minimap, you use no suppressors. You don't need to use the suppressors because you're not going to show up on the minimap because there is no minimap unless somebody has a UAV. In that case, I believe you still show up, but it really allows you to experiment with the weapons. So if we're looking at weaponry in Modern Warfare, as I said, one of the problems in Warzone, the core Warzone experience, is the meta weapons, overpowered, unbalanced weapons. Everybody seems to run the longest barrel, the mono suppressor, a commando foregrip, and a VLK optic, things like that. And then obviously now we have the Cold War integration, so things are switched up a little bit with the Cold War meta. But you tend to see the typical meta. Right now it seems to be there's a lot of FAMASes, still a Grau. Bruins are kind of making a bit of a comeback, but I'm getting killed by FAMASes, MAC-10s, Graus, things like that are weapons that just really don't have a lot of recoil. And in my mind, they're just very low-skill weapons, which is fine. But when you have all these additional, I guess, cues on your map and your mini-map to assist you to camp, it really enforces you to camp, know where people are, things like that. It really takes away from the gameplay experience. And I'm somebody, I don't like to use meta weapons. I like to experiment with like different fun off-meta builds. Right now, I've been trying to use really this nice AK-74 build that I've been trying to use for a while, I believe since Season 6 came out, the very beginning of Season 6. And I've gotten some good gameplay with it, especially in Realism when it was around in early December. But to get gameplay with this using the 5.45 round magazine of only 30 rounds is very difficult in regular Warzone, just because you're running into, I would say, right now, even though the meta for Warzone is wider than it has been, you still have the handful, I would say, of 5 weapons that you're going to run into almost every game. And it really is pretty frustrating to try and get footage of an off-meta weapon when you're running into these type of meta weapons, as well as skill-based matchmaking, as difficult as it is in cheaters. So Realism Warzone, I would really love to see this game mode return on a more consistent schedule. Right now, if you follow me on Twitter, you know I kind of go off the hinges there a little bit, but I joke a lot that, you know, I can't wait till June because we get to play Realism Warfare, and I'm really excited for the best weekend of Warzone this year. And just some more communication from Raven, from Activision, as to what the roadmap is for these types of game modes. There should be, I know Battlefield 4, even Battlefield 3 did a roadmap for the different months ahead as to what content was going to be featured then, and things like that for the limited time modes is, you know, when can we expect Realism Royale? Is it coming in February? Is it coming in March? Do we really need to wait till June? There should be a roadmap laid out for the months with a list of what limited time modes are going to be released within that month time span, so we know. And I think if we were to build that list ourselves from a historical standpoint as to what we've seen in the past year of Warzone, we would see, again, Realism Royale Warzone game mode is the least LTM or limited time mode that we've seen. So it's the extremely limited time mode, I guess, or the least limited time mode. It's only been around 6 total days, as I said. It's been featured the very least of all the limited time modes. I'd really love to see this mode, as well as some others, come back on a more consistent schedule and a planned period. As I said, let's plan these out for the few months ahead. I wish Raven would communicate this type of thing to us. Now, this may not be a big deal for a lot of us. That I think like hacking, things like that, skill-based matchmaking may be a hotter topic, but something like this could at least give us something to look forward to coming forward. Obviously, we know the different seasons are going to be coming out, but what's the limited time mode look like for the schedule coming up in the next few months? I know a lot of this community has really just been eager for Realism Warzone to return, and it's the best limited time mode I think we've seen in the game, and I have a blast playing it. I know when Modern Warfare's multiplayer removed it, I believe it was in Season 2 or 3, it was gone for a whole season off the playlist, and they finally put it back in, but it was buried in the core multiplayer menu. You need to go in and deselect every other core mode and select Realism as your only mode for Realism Mosh Pit, and that mode really died because they buried it in the menus, and no one plays it now because nobody even knows it's there. No one's going to select that and that alone, versus having a core playlist for Realism Mosh Pit on the main menu for multiplayer of Modern Warfare. Something like that is really what I would like to see for Realism Warzone in the Warzone menu. Keep consistent limited time modes in there, even throughout the week. If there's really 80+ million players in the world playing this game, you can afford to have a few limited time modes present throughout the week, 24/7, to really diversify the game. And as I said, Realism really fixes all of the problems that I have with Warzone are fixed in Realism Warzone. I really would love to see this game mode return. It allows you to have more fun, experiment with weapons, actually have to use your head a little bit, not make cocky pushes into buildings because you know where everybody is, you know where the vehicles are, you have MAC-10s, you can bunny hop around, you have your mini-map. I remember the whole debate when Modern Warfare multiplayer came out, Infinity Ward didn't want a mini-map, and it was only available with UAVs, the same way we see it in Realism, and the community threw a fit saying that they don't want it there to chase red dots, they want it there to know the map. But in my point of view, that's a pretty bad excuse. Obviously, everyone wanted it there just to chase red dots. If you needed it there to know the map, you play the same maps over and over and over. It's called map knowledge, which is something everyone's had to learn in every other FPS game. So that's a sad excuse. Unfortunately, Infinity Ward gave into that and put in the minimap. Modern Warfare was meant to play in a limited HUD type mode. that being Realism in my mind, and Warzone plays much better in Realism Royale versus Core. I would play Realism Royale 24/7 if it was out. So let's hope Raven can communicate a little bit more. Let's tweet at them to put Realism Royale back in the gameplay rotation. Hopefully we see it before June. I'd love to see it more than twice this year in 2021. I know that's really what keeps me in the game. I'm hoping for Realism Royale, and with games coming up like Battlefield, you know, what is Infinity Ward, Raven, Activision going to do to retain their player base in these games? We have whatever Call of Duty titles coming in 2021. All those weapons are going to be continued to be integrated into Warzone, and if that's going to go the way it went with the Cold War weapons, I definitely don't want any part of it. I don't want broken weapons for a month and a half before they decide to fix them, instead of just taking them out of the game directly. The fact that the DMR was left in-game for a month and a half in the state that it was, in addition with the MAC-10, and they weren't just taken out of the game until they were fixed is ridiculous. So I think with competitors coming up now, right now, Modern Warfare, Warzone, Call of Duty has no direct competitors right now on the market. Battlefield is coming, and they're going to come in hot and heavy. And I think, I honestly think Call of Duty's in for a rude awakening when something like Battlefield comes out, because Battlefield's core gameplay mechanics have always been, when we look at the modern shooter iterations of Battlefield, have always been superior to Call of Duty. The movement, the gameplay, the weapon balancing has always been superior. And I know if Raven Software and Activision doesn't do things to up their game with communication, limited time modes, things like realism, I'm definitely jumping ship permanently when Battlefield comes out. I love Warzone. I want to see it succeed. I would love to see Realism Warzone return. Let me know down below what you guys think. Do you want to see Realism Royale return to Warzone on a rotation every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks? There should be some plan. Do you want to see that, or do you not really care? Do you prefer core Warzone over Realism or any other limited time modes? Do you play any limited time modes? Let me know down below. I'm really curious what you guys think, especially the community that's been following me for a while. I think our core community here really enjoys that realism type mode, that tactical shooter type mode. Let me know down below what you guys think. And are you going to be jumping ship permanently to Battlefield when it comes out, if it is a good modern shooter? Let me know down below what you guys want to see. Hashtag bring back Realism Royale. Till next time, this is Buckner Gaming, out.